entry points, which is the first entry is your moon, the second entry is the trend, and those are the two entries that you want to master. Okay, and these are the 1 hour time frames, right? And this particular trade here ended up giving us two moves. The original move here would have cracked a 100% move in this little section here, which is basically from entry to 2% at a 50x leverage would be 100%. And then buying on the pullback actually gave us a second 2% move, which allowed us to make another 100% on there. But let's dive into these two entries and the next level of how to get into them clean and the way they're supposed to be. So for that, we go down to the 15-minute. And what we're going to do at the 15-minute is just evaluate the setups of what we're looking for. So the very first thing for us is, understanding the tops of volumes when they're really, up in these upper levels of 23. And then down here, the 23. And when I say 23, let's slide to the right here, and there's numbers on the right-hand side. You can see that in these areas here, this is the 23 line, and I'll mark it here just so we can compare. So just think, I'm from Chicago, so we were always about MJ. So there's the 23 mark. I'm going to put that there, and then I'm going to put the negative 23. Now this is really just for our, we call the 23 line, which is kind of like where volume, is, hit a decent level, pretty good level. A lot of times I like to operate from 20 to 23, that little section there. And those are the zones that normally once volume gets these levels here, and this is the 20, this is where it normally will do a reversal once it's in this, this channels. That's where, it's a good opportunity going the other way. You can, see if you can make some money. But overall, the basis here is that, we're looking for green moons, right? And here's a green moon that pops up on the 15. It doesn't have a trend yet, right? But as we can see here, the same move that we look for on the 1 hour exists here as well. The 15-minute moon comes, there's a move to the top, and then what happens, there's a pullback, and then from that pullback we get a trend, which is here, and then we can see that on that trend we had a nice move up there, right? So the same pattern that we're getting used to as far as when there's a trigger to a trade, this being the moon and then a trend, just like the 1 hour moon, 1 hour trend, the indicators operate the same way down on lower levels. It's just the moves are less less strength or percentages to them because they're smaller time frames. But this particular move here, if you would have been into the 15-minute trend trade, would have delivered a 4% move. And even on the moon here, if you got in here, this delivered a 1% move there. So when you're in lower time frames, you don't really want to jump into the moons and the trends unless there's volume that supports the move. So for instance, when we got our 15-minute moon here, you can see that the volume was below what's called the negative line. And what's a negative line? That's just the middle line that literally sits between the entire thing. And if you go down and look at all the way to your far right, and you look at the numbers over here, you can see that these numbers go from 0 to positive, and then below 0, they're negative. That's what's called the zero line. The zero line is simply the line that is in the middle between the green and the red volume indicators. And that's it. That's called the zero line. So what we want is we want everything above the zero line to be positive if we're looking for a very strong move up. And then understanding that when we get a pull down, right, we want the volume to be high on the positive side, which creates what we call a gap of money, right? So from the top of this green down would be basically let us know that there's that amount of money. Plus, if it goes negative, then it gives us a second move to the bottom, which increases the value of it going down. So like kind of rolling down a mountain, right? Now, the higher the volume, right, the concept is pretty easy. The more money that was put in, that means the more money that will be opportunities for profits. And then people have more incentive to sell. and bring down to those lower levels of support and resistance. And that's the entire basis of a market, right? So you have to remember that you're buying a coin at a certain price, and the only reason you're buying it is because once it goes up 50% in value, you're selling. Well, you're not the only person in the game. So understand every move will come with these concepts. Now, this particular entry here on this first 15-minute moon, right, um, wouldn't be an entry that we'd be interested in because the volume in this section here is not above the zero line, and it really doesn't support the move that there will be a positive uh, trade out of here because we don't have the volume to support a particular trade that would say like it's going to be a move or a push to the upside, because in order to go long, you have to have um, in order to go long, you have to have volume or money coming into a coin in order for it to go up, right? So if it doesn't have that volume or the money to support that trade, then the trade is not going to happen at that particular time and have enough push to be valuable. This is why when you're shorting a coin, we like to short more coins than we do longs, because once we see the volume on the chart, that represents money. And the one thing about profit is that profit is only uh, recognized when they sell it. So at some point they have to take profits on this trade, and that's why shorting coins are more my flavor, is because I know if something goes up, it has to come down, and that's the beauty of crypto. So now you can see here the volume on the 15-minute. We don't have enough volume here to support a push to the top at that time. And this is why on a lower time frame, we have to wait for the moon to signal a trade possibility, the trend to basically click, which is the trade that we want, right? We want to get into the trend trade on the 15-minute if we're going to, see the valuable move there, right? So this is kind of like the first start of a entry to a trade, and it all starts right here. As soon as the volume shows us a section of positive volume, and this is what you're going to learn here, is how to find positive volume and recognize the actual beginnings or the safer trades to place, which would be in this one here versus this moon trade, right? You want the trend, which gives us the ability to make some money there. So this is what we're going to go into video 3, is going to be the entries into these volume trades. So this way you can, see the difference. So you want to, if you don't have a notebook, you want to already had a notebook, and these are some pointers and things that you want to write down so that you understand when these things happen, these trigger trades. So we're going to learn the trigger of a trade, the the confirmation of a trade, and then the areas of the entries of the trade, which is just really coming down to the thing that's king. It's called volume, and volume is king, which you'll learn a little bit more in the videos coming up, guys. So other than that, good luck, God bless. Move over to video 3, and we're going to dig into the volume part of the 15-minute to allow us to see possibilities and entries into a trade on the next video.